your customers are lying to you. And if you can spot the lie, you can actually help them buy your product or service and get the result that they're looking for. Well, I think you already knew that. But just in case you didn't, stick around and let's talk about it. Welcome to the Traffic Keys podcast. I am your host, Atiba, and if you're an online entrepreneur and you're looking to grow your audience online, right, get more traffic, more eyeballs on your website, then you are in the right place. We are here, and every time I come to you, I'm going to be talking about one out of three of my traffic keys. These are the three pillars that if you understand all the component parts in them, you will master traffic to your website. And today we're going back and diving a little bit further into the biggest, most important traffic key, which is audience. We're talking about your customer, those who are buying from you, and really understanding them, right? Because you have to understand your customer in order to sell to them. Now, the title said it, and I said it earlier. Your customers are lying to you. Now, that may sound like a little bit much of a statement, but how many times have you had a conversation with a customer and then at the end of the call, whether it's a phone call, a Zoom, or an in-person meeting, however it turned out, your thought was, if they had just told me X, Y, and Z up front, this would have been a lot easier and I could have helped them a lot faster. Yeah. I bet that's happened to you. It's happened to me a ton. And that's the lie that they're telling you. Now, okay, lie might be a little bit of a strong word. So let me break down what's really happening. Okay, because you've got to understand this in order to understand communicating with your customer, because one of those keys to traffic is knowing how to communicate to your customer effectively. Okay? You've got to know that. So let's break down what's happening. Everybody has three problems. When they come to you, they've got three problems that need to be solved. Three. Okay? They have their external problem. That's the thing that they usually say out of their mouth. They show up and they say, hey, this, that, or the third is my problem. Now, that may be, let's just give an example. Let's talk an example for a moment. Let's say, and I've got Panera on my mind today because Panera sent me a thing earlier, and I know I've got a free Panera, and I'm like, oh man, I should go to Panera. So let's talk about Panera. Okay, you might go to Panera, and you may show up at Panera because you are hungry. That is the problem that you present. I am hungry. Right? Now, clearly, Panera has food. So does McDonald's. So does Burger King. So does Coastal Flats. There are lots of places that have food. There are lots of places that fix and solve external problems that people say out of their mouth. I am hungry, but why did I show up at Panera? Well, I showed up at Panera because internally I am hungry, but I want to eat something that's healthy. And Panera is a good choice because they say that it's all whole foods, right? So I go to Panera to solve my internal problem. Now, I'm not going to tell that to Panera. I'm never going to walk into Panera and say, hey, I need to eat something that's healthy for me. And I think you guys have that. No, I show up and I say, I'm hungry. Feed me. That's what they say out of their mouth. But what they really mean and what they're really looking for in that scenario is, I want healthy food. This is just a Panera example, okay? Now, so we talked about their external problem, what they say out of their mouth. They have an internal problem, which is what I was just explaining, the internal problem of what's really going on. And I want you to stop for a moment. And we're going to pause for just a moment here. And I want you to think about this. I want you to think about the last time you purchased something, which for most of us adults, especially in the United States, it's all the time. And I want you to think about something that you're purchasing that you need, and think about it and realize that yeah, I had an external need, but there was really something inside going on as well that I didn't express as to why I wanted to buy this. There was really something inside going on. Let me give you another example. So some of you guys know that, at Traffic Keys, we're all about educating you about the keys to traffic. And we do have a few products. And one of them is our PR bundle. It's a great, if you haven't heard of it, it's a great tool where my writers will actually craft a story about you. And then we use all of our press contacts to get that story published for you, right? Well, people come to us and they say, hey, I need this PR bundle because I need to build credibility for my website. And having as seen on logos will help build credibility. That's what they say out of their mouth. But what's really going on inside is they are in a place where they're feeling like, I don't think people trust me. I don't think people know that I can do a good job. I don't have all of the testimonials like somebody else. I don't have what my competition has, the years of history. I need some way to prove to people that I'm actually worthwhile for you to give me my money or your money. That's what they're feeling inside. And they come to us and say, hey, I need to build some credibility for my business. That's what they say out their mouth. But what's going on inside is very, very different in terms of what they're feeling. Now, I want you to hear me and hear me well on this. Nobody buys your product because you solve their external problem. Let's go back to Panera. I can go to Panera. I can go to McDonald's. I can go to Burger King. I can go to Coastal Flats. The list of restaurants that I can go to is huge. Why am I going to go to Panera? I'm going to go to Panera because Panera solves my internal problem. You see, people buy from you. People choose you because you solve their internal problem. But if all you do when they call you on the phone or when they set an appointment and you talk to them, if all you do is talk about the external problem that they presented and try to solve that external problem, you're going to reach a ton of roadblocks because you're not addressing what's really going on inside. Now, you may get lucky. And some of us do a lot of times. We get lucky in our presentation of how we're going to solve their external problem. We hit their internal pain points. And then they're happy. But what if for a moment we can do it deliberately? This is why I say you have to be obsessed with your audience. You've got to know what those internal pain points are for your audience so that you can actually hit those pain points to help them convert into customers. Because once they convert into customers, that's when you can deliver value to them. And that's what this is all about. Delivering exceptional value to our customers. Now, we talked about external, we talked about internal, but I told you there were three. And here's the third one. The third one is a philosophical problem. This is the toughest one. This one is the toughest one because what this one does, it answers this question. You ready for this? It answers the question, if this problem, my internal problem, is not solved, then this will go wrong in the world. World in quotes, because sometimes the world is just your four walls. Sometimes it could be much bigger than that. It could be your company. It could be your neighborhood. It could be the entire world. Whatever your customer's definition of their world is. If they don't get this problem solved, something is going to go wrong. So let's go back to my Traffic Keys example in the PR bundle. So if I've got somebody and, they come and they say that they're looking to build credibility, then most times I know that what they're really saying is, I don't feel like I have enough that I can show versus my competition to a prospect to prove to them that I am worthwhile. Okay, so we're dealing with that as the internal problem. Now the philosophical problem is, and if I don't help my customers solve whatever problem that they're having, then they're going to have further problems as well. That could be a philosophical problem. Another way of looking at a philosophical problem, and this is where it becomes tricky, because you've really got to dig and be obsessed with your customer to know what type of philosophical problems they're having. My wife, she deals and coaches business women. Yeah, she coaches, I said that correctly. She coaches business women in their businesses to be successful. Well, for a lot of those women, the philosophical problem that they are solving is very simple. They didn't grow up in a world where they were told that they had choices, that they could stand on their own 2 feet and be successful in business. This wasn't a reality for them, and they desperately want to make it a reality for their daughters who are watching mommy in business. And they want their daughters to know that you have options and you can be successful. And that's their philosophical problem. Sometimes people call it your why. Why is it that you want to do this? Why is it that this is important to you? Okay? Now, follow me for a moment. If you take your customer on a journey where you solve their internal problem, which by default ends up solving their external problem, and you also show them how this helps them solve their philosophical problems, why would they not buy from you? Yeah, they'd be crazy not to, right? And that's where you've got to get to. That, my friends, is where we have to get to. So when we want to come and we talk about SEO and we talk about writing content and we talk about all this wonderful stuff, but if we don't have clarity on our audience and the pains that our audience is going through, the problems, internal, external, and philosophical that they are having, and how our solution helps them, it becomes very, very hard to sell. It becomes very, very hard to sell. So that is, if you will, an assignment that I'm giving to you guys. And I want you to think about this. I want you to think about your customers. I want you to go back through and think about your customers, and because they tell you. If you're listening to them, they will tell you. Start to listen to your customers and see when they start saying little things that hint at what their internal problem was. Sometimes they may say, hey, I didn't even know I had a problem with that, and you solved it. Thank you. Sometimes it's, man, how did you know that's what I was thinking? How did you know that's what I was going through? Have your customers said that to you? Those are internal problems. And so I want you to think back through the time that you've been in business and some of your customers and the interactions that you've had and those moments that you've had with them where they started saying, hey, you just solved a problem I didn't know I had, or you're in my head, or wow, this is so much better than I thought, because it's touching something inside of them that they didn't, sometimes they don't even realize need to be fixed. And that's one of the things too, I forgot to mention about internal problems. Sometimes customers know that they're hiding and sometimes they don't, which is hard. I get it. For us, it's hard. It's like, dude, if you would just show up and tell me exactly what was going on, I can fix it. But sometimes they don't know. Sometimes they don't know. But it's our job to know. It's your job to know. It's your job to know them better than they know themselves. I'm hoping that this is really starting to make sense to you guys. If it is, feel free to comment. If you're on the podcast, you can reach out to me at hello@traffickeys. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, you can leave a comment. I would love to hear back from you guys. I'd love to hear some of your questions. I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on this. This is that one, and this is what oftentimes that I've taken my clients through with our agency in the past is really digging into these things, because there is so much value here and knowing who your customer is, because then when we start to talk to them, when we start to talk directly to them, when we start to cut through to their pain, they become our customers for life. So guys, once again, it's a pleasure to have you here on Traffic Keys with me. I am your host, Atiba. If you've got any questions, please drop the questions. Give me some thumbs up. Subscribe, follow, all that wonderful stuff that you do on social media. Love to hear from you guys. I will see you soon.